The Starlight Nexus bar hummed with the low drone of alien conversations and the distant hum of interstellar engine sounds. HFY Park sat alone, nursing a small glass of blue liquid that glowed softly under the station's artificial lighting. His flight jacket, worn and patched, told stories of countless journeys across the galaxy. Around him, the bar's atmosphere grew tense. A group of Krollan mercenaries, massive blue-skinned warriors with muscular frames that made most species look fragile, began harassing a group of human traders. Their deep voices rumbled with contempt, tentacle-like appendages gesturing aggressively. "Humans," one Krollan captain sneered, his translator rendering the words with a metallic edge, "always wandering where they don't belong." The human merchants tried to remain calm, but fear was visible in their eyes. They were traders, not fighters. Simple people trying to make a living in the vast, unforgiving expanse of space. HFY watched carefully. He remembered his grandfather's lessons. Lessons learned from generations of military service and survival. The old man always said that danger could bloom in an instant, and preparation was the key to survival. When the Krollan captain grabbed a human merchant's collar, lifting him slightly off the ground, something inside HFY shifted. His muscles tensed, a lifetime of training suddenly becoming razor-sharp and focused. "Let him go," HFY said quietly. His voice was calm, almost conversational. The Krollan turned, laughing. The sound was like grinding metal, harsh and dismissive. "And who are you to tell me what to do?" In that moment, everything happened fast. HFY moved with a speed that seemed impossible. A nearby chair leg, broken during an earlier scuffle, became his weapon. He struck with precision, targeting pressure points that even the massive Krollan couldn't ignore. 3 Krollan warriors went down in seconds. Their massive bodies crashed into tables, sending glasses and strange alien drinks flying. The bar erupted into chaos. Other species backed away, shocked by the sudden violence. Blood trickled from a small cut on HFY's cheek, but his eyes burned with an intensity that made the remaining aliens step back. He wasn't just fighting. He was making a statement. "We are not your prey," he said clearly. The universal translator rendered his words in multiple alien languages, each tone carrying the same message of defiance. The station's security officers arrived moments later, their metallic armor reflecting the bar's chaotic lighting. They expected to find a massacre, but instead discovered several massive Krollan warriors unconscious, and a single human standing calmly amid the destruction. HFY didn't say another word. He simply adjusted his jacket, picked up his drink, which miraculously remained unspilled, and finished it in one smooth motion. The human merchant stared in disbelief. The alien patrons whispered. Something had changed in that moment. A line had been drawn, a message sent across the stars. No one would underestimate humans again. As station security began processing the incident, HFY knew his life had changed. This wasn't just a bar fight. This was a moment that would echo through galactic communication networks, through diplomatic channels, through the collective consciousness of every species watching. He had defended not just the traders, but the reputation of an entire species. Humans, once seen as newcomers, as insignificant travelers in the vast galactic community, were now something else. They were a species to be respected, a species to be feared. The Krollan would remember this night. The galaxy would remember this night. And it all started in a small bar, on a remote space station with a simple cargo pilot named HFY Park. The communication networks across the galaxy buzzed with a strange new story. A human had defeated multiple Krollan warriors in a single fight, and nobody could stop talking about it. Video clips spread faster than light, showing HFY Park's impossible movements and strategic strikes. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives from different species watched the recorded footage repeatedly. Some were curious. Some were worried. The Krollan delegation demanded immediate action, their blue skin turning a darker shade of rage. Yunki Kim, the human diplomatic representative, stood calm and composed. His uniform was crisp, his posture straight, He looked like a soldier dressed as a diplomat, which wasn't far from the truth. The incident was self-defense, he explained, his voice steady and clear. Our documentation shows clear provocation from the Krolin mercenaries. The Xerillian representative, a creature with multiple eyes and a transparent skin that showed internal organs, leaned forward. Explain, he demanded. Yunki pressed a small holographic button. Suddenly, the entire chamber was filled with a detailed replay of the bar fight. Multiple angles showed how the Krolin had initiated the conflict, how they had threatened unarmed human traders. The evidence was overwhelming. The bar's security cameras had captured everything, not just the fight, but the moments leading to it. It wasn't just a random act of violence, it was a calculated response to aggression. Other species began to take notice. The human representation wasn't just defending their actions, they were presenting a clear, logical case. No emotional outbursts, no dramatic speeches, just pure, calculated information. The Krolin delegation tried to argue. They showed their own footage, tried to manipulate the narrative. But technology doesn't lie, and the recordings were crystal clear. Across different star systems, conversations changed. Humans were no longer seen as simple traders or random space travelers. They were becoming something else, a species with unexpected capabilities. Small trading posts began discussing the incident. Cargo ship captains shared the story during long communication breaks. Military strategists analyzed HFY's fighting technique, trying to understand the human approach to conflict. What made humans different? It wasn't just physical strength. It was adaptability, intelligence, a willingness to stand ground when others would retreat. The Galactic Council's decision came quickly. No punishment for HFY. Instead, a formal investigation into the Krolin mercenaries' activities. The tables had turned completely. In research stations and academic centers, xenobiologists and cultural experts began studying human behavior more closely. What made this species so unique? How could they transform a simple bar fight into a diplomatic incident? Yunki Kim knew something bigger was happening. This wasn't just about one fight. This was about changing perceptions. Humans were writing their own story in the galaxy, one unexpected moment at a time. The Krolin were furious. They had expected to intimidate. Instead, they had awakened something unexpected, a species that didn't just survive, but fought back, with intelligence and precision. News spread through communication networks. Trading routes that were once dangerous for humans suddenly became more open. Other species looked at human traders differently, with a mix of respect and caution. HFY Park, the cargo pilot who started it all, had no idea about the massive diplomatic waves he was creating. He was probably somewhere in space doing his job, unaware that his single moment of defiance was changing galactic politics. The Galactic Council's decision was more than just a ruling. It was a message. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were not just another species trying to find their place in the vast universe. They were becoming something more. And it all started with a simple bar fight in a small space station, with one human who refused to back down. The galaxy would never be the same again. The starship Celestial Horizon hung in space like a silent predator, its sleek, human-designed hull reflecting minimal light. Captain Hyunwoo Choi stood on the bridge, his eyes scanning the incoming alien invasion fleet. Massive ships stretched across the star field, their weapon systems glowing with destructive potential. Most species would have surrendered immediately. The alien invasion force looked overwhelming. Hundreds of ships, each capable of destroying entire planetary systems. They were the Drakor Collective, a race known for consuming and destroying everything in their path. But Hyunwoo wasn't most captains, and humans weren't most species. Tactical assessment, he called to his team. His voice was calm, almost casual. Lieutenant Sarah Park's fingers danced across holographic displays. Approaching fleet. 327 primary vessels. Multiple support crafts. Estimated destruction capability. 98% of known colonized systems. The Drakor communication channels were already sending demands. Surrender, submit, become part of their collective. Standard procedure for every species they had encountered in the last 1,000 years. Humans were about to change that procedure. Hyunwoo's strategy was unlike anything in traditional military training. Where other species would concentrate firepower, he prepared to use something more dangerous: unpredictability. The first attack came quickly. Drakor ships launched massive energy pulses expecting to obliterate human defenses. But the celestial horizon didn't just dodge. It transformed. Quantum disruption systems, a technology humans had secretly developed, activated. The ship seemed to split, multiply, become something that wasn't just a single vessel. One moment it was here. The next moment it was everywhere and nowhere. Drakor commanders watched in confusion. Their targeting systems went crazy. How could a single ship move like liquid? How could it be in multiple locations simultaneously? Hyunwoo wasn't just fighting. He was rewriting the rules of space combat. Small human support ships emerged from hidden quantum pockets. They weren't large, they weren't traditionally powerful, but they were smart. Each ship moved with a collective intelligence that surprised the Drakor. One Drakor battleship suddenly found its primary weapons systems disabled. Another discovered its communication networks had been completely compromised. A third watched as its own weapon turned against its neighboring ships. The human ships didn't just fight. They thought. They adapted. They learned with each passing moment. Alien communication channels filled with panic. The Drakor had never encountered a species that could turn their own technology against them so quickly. Entire battle strategies collapsed within minutes. Hyunwoo watched the battle like a chess grandmaster. Every move calculated, every decision precise. The celestial horizon wasn't just a ship. It was a statement about human potential. Within 3 standard hours, the massive Drakor invasion fleet was reduced to floating debris, not through overwhelming firepower, but through intelligence, strategy, an ability to see solutions where others saw only problems. When the battle ended, only human ships remained. No dramatic explosions. No unnecessary destruction. Just precise, calculated elimination of a threat. Galactic communication networks would later struggle to explain what happened. How could a small human fleet defeat an invasion force that had conquered hundreds of species? The answer was simple. Humans didn't just fight. They reimagined fighting itself. Back on the celestial horizon, Hyunwoo allowed himself a small smile. They had done more than win a battle. They had sent a message across the stars. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first conflict was over, but something much larger was just beginning. Soojin Park walked into the massive diplomatic chamber with a confidence that made even experienced alien representatives pause. Her reputation preceded her, a human who could turn potential conflicts into collaborative opportunities faster than most species could draw weapons. The chamber represented multiple star systems, each with its own complex history of conflicts and fragile alliances. Marginalized species from across the galaxy had been invited to a unique conference. They didn't know it yet, but this meeting would change everything. Humans had discovered something remarkable in the years following their unexpected military success. Power wasn't just about defeating enemies. It was about understanding them, connecting with them, solving problems they couldn't solve themselves. Soojin's first move was unexpected. Instead of presenting human superiority, she presented shared challenges: water shortages on desert planets, energy distribution problems, agricultural challenges in hostile environments. The Krell delegation, a species of silicon-based life forms, watched carefully. They had been isolated for centuries, considered too different to integrate with other galactic civilizations. "We don't want to control," Soojin explained. "We want to collaborate." Her team had prepared something extraordinary: hybrid technologies that combined human creativity with alien scientific principles, terraforming systems that could transform hostile planets, communication networks that could translate not just languages, but cultural nuances. One by one, marginalized, species began to listen. The Zorn, a species of energy-based life forms, discovered human engineers could help them stabilize their rapidly declining energy systems. The Silicon Krell found human molecular manipulation techniques could solve their reproduction challenges. What humans offered wasn't conquest. It was partnership. Engineering teams began redesigning entire planetary infrastructures. They didn't come as conquerors. They came as problem solvers. Each solution was tailored, respectful, understanding the unique challenges of each species. The Galactic Council watched in confusion. Humans weren't following any traditional expansion model. They were creating something entirely new, a network of collaborative development that crossed traditional boundaries. Small trading posts became innovation centers. Human researchers worked alongside alien scientists. Technologies emerged that no single species could have created alone. The quantum communication systems developed during these collaborations were revolutionary. They could transmit information across vast distances with unprecedented speed and accuracy. But more importantly, they could transmit understanding. Su-Jin understood something fundamental. Conflict wasn't about winning. It was about finding common ground. When the Dracor Collective, still recovering from their massive defeat, tried to create new conflicts, they found something unexpected. The species they had previously considered weak were now interconnected, protected, supported by a network that humans had quietly built. Human diplomatic strategies transformed galactic politics. Where other species saw boundaries, humans saw opportunities. Where others saw differences, humans saw potential collaborations. The engineering teams were the real heroes. They didn't just solve technical problems. They rebuilt relationships. They created hope where there was previously only survival. Planetary systems that were once considered uninhabitable began to bloom. Species that were on the brink of extinction found new paths forward, and at the center of it all were humans, not as masters, but as partners. The galaxy was changing, and humans were the unexpected architects of that change. Su-Jin looked out at the diverse representatives. Each one represented a different world, a different possibility, and each one was now part of something larger than their individual histories. This wasn't just strategic ascendance. This was a new way of existing. In the universe, humanity had done more than survive. They had shown that collaboration was the most powerful weapon in any civilization's arsenal, and they were just getting started. The Galactic Confederation's Grand Hall stood silent, its massive holographic windows showing millions of star systems. Admiral HFY Park stepped forward, the same man who years ago had started everything with a simple bar fight. Time had changed him. Silver streaked his hair, deep lines marked his face, but his eyes remained the same, sharp, intelligent, burning with an unexplained intensity. Representatives from 247 different species waited, creatures with multiple limbs, energy-based life forms, silicon-based intelligences. Each one represented a civilization that had once considered humans irrelevant. Not anymore. "We are not conquerors," HFY began. His voice carried through advanced translation systems, reaching every ear and sensory organ in the chamber. "We are adapters. We learn. We grow." Behind him, a massive holographic monument materialized. It showed the exact moment in that remote space station bar where everything changed, where a single human had stood against overwhelming odds and transformed galactic understanding. The Krolan delegation, who had once been the most aggressive opponents, now sat in respectful silence. They remembered how everything started, how a simple cargo pilot had redefined their understanding of humanity. Holographic displays showed humanity's journey, from marginalized traders to galactic problem solvers. Each image told a story of unexpected innovation, planetary restoration projects, advanced communication networks, collaborative technologies that had saved entire civilizations. Young human diplomats and engineers stood proud. They represented a new generation that had grown up understanding that strength wasn't about conquest. It was about connection. The monument began rotating, showing different perspectives of that original moment. The bar fight, the diplomatic challenges, the technological innovations, the collaborative networks. Alien species who had once feared humans now sought their partnership. Trading routes that were once dangerous became highways of cultural and technological exchange. Human researchers were welcome in laboratories across the galaxy. HFY's speech continued. He spoke about challenges, about understanding, about the fundamental truth that no species survives alone. That collaboration was the most powerful force in the universe. The Galactic Confederation's record keeper, a crystalline being that had documented galactic histories for thousands of years, carefully recorded every word. This moment would be remembered. When HFY finished speaking, something unprecedented happened. Every single representative stood, not in a military salute, but in a gesture of mutual respect. Humans had done something remarkable. They had transformed from a species others considered insignificant to architects of a new galactic understanding. The holographic monument continued spinning. That simple bar fight now represented something much larger, a moment when everything changed. When a single human's actions rewrote galactic history. Outside the hall, human ships moved between star systems, not as conquerors, not as traders, but as partners, as problem solvers, as a species that had learned the most important lesson. True strength comes from understanding, not domination. HFY looked out across the assembled representatives. He saw not just different species. He saw potential. He saw hope. The bar fight that started everything was now a legend, a moment that represented humanity's unexpected journey, from a remote space station to the center of galactic civilization. The story wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.